We're live. Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. This is the Belizeans Affair Show number 191 for September 6th, 2024. My name is Leonard Brackett. I'm usually the chairman of the Friday night program. And right now, at least not yet, we don't have our other panelists available, but the show has to be launched within a certain parameter of time, and therefore I'm taking the liberty to do so, and in the interest of timeliness. Uh, Again, my name is Leonard Brackett. I'll be your host and chairman for tonight, and we'll be dealing with some constitutional matters. As usual, Friday is usually the constitutional nights, and legal and case law matters, as well as other issues. Um, I'll follow the same format as we always do, which is to first of all say a short prayer, followed by a reading of a couple of scripture verses. I'll just bow my head while I say the prayer. Divine loving Father, thou who art the creator of heaven and earth, and all that in them are, into thine hands we commend ourselves, asking that thou mayest continue to guide and protect and bless us, continue to be merciful unto us, continue to grant us the privilege of life. Thou hast given us the opportunity to be here with our friends and loved ones. Please continue to bless them as if they were mentioned by name and number. Please continue to bless our country of Belize, its people and leadership. Please continue to bless this country of the United States, its people and its leadership as well. And we pray, loving Father, that thou mayest continue to bless the rest of humanity, especially those people who are in harm's way, who are being hurt, sometimes for no justifiable reason, because of wars, and those people who are in hurricane, tornadoes, flooding, and all other manner of disasters, whether man-made and or of natural occurrence. We pray that thou mayest have mercy upon us all, loving Father. Thou knowest our hearts, our desires, and even our most secret thoughts. Please continue to help us, that as we produce and broadcast this program, that it may accrue to some positive public benefit to our people and country of Belize. Thank you very much. Amen. I'll proceed with the next step, which is to read a short verse. And let's see. I'll read from Job. Let's see, Job chapter. I'll read from Job chapter 36. Elihu also proceeded and said, suffer me a little, and I will show thee that I have yet to speak on God's behalf. I will fetch my knowledge from I'll fetch my knowledge from afar, and will ascribe righteousness to my Maker. And that's the reading for tonight. Thank the Lord for the privilege to partake and read from the Holy Scripture. If you would permit me, I would just like to take a minute just to launch the other part of the program so that other people can also get the opportunity to hear what we have to offer tonight. So just bear patience with me for a second. It's a one-man operation right now as it is, so I'll just indulge in let's see. Okay, so I'm unlocking it so the other people can get to hear it. And then I'll just go ahead and make 2 more steps. Okay, I got 1 more step that I need to make so that I can launch it in the let's see, it's not allowing me to share. Just a second. It's not allowing me to share yet. I should be able to get it to, okay, edit. That's strange. Okay. Let's see. No. Just bear patient with me for a second, please. I'm babbling here, but I need to get this stuff properly. Okay. Belizean. And then I gotta put the number. 191. Okay, that's good enough for right now. We'll launch it out, and I'll modify that later on. And then now I gotta share. Share it here. Gotta post it, and that's live. Okay, so yep. And then I gotta post it to my story. One last move. I'm almost there. And then I'm posting it to my story, and I'm finished. Posted it. Okay. Sorry for taking up that much of your time just now. I'm happy that those of you who are listening right now and will be listening later on at your own convenience will derive some public benefit from this presentation. So I'll just okay, I was just trying to raise the volume because I've been told a few times by some of the listeners that sometimes the program comes off a little low in volume. Okay, so we're off and running to the races. On the Constitution, as regards to tonight's program, the Constitution says that the government of Belize is empowered to make laws and to make changes to the Constitution so long as they can reach a certain threshold, or so long as they can have a referendum, and so long as there's an emergency, and so long as the other laws, because spare me one more second, please. Just indulge me in one more second here for a minute. I need to clear up something here. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so as I stipulated earlier, our Constitution of Belize says that the legislature of Belize, which is one branch of our government, the legislature includes, for clarity purposes, the House of Representatives, which is the parliamentarians, and inclusive also are the senators or the Senate. So the House and the Senate constitute the legislature of the country, and the executive is the day-to-day management of our country under the category of a government. That is, we call it GOB, Government of Belize. For clarity again, we the people of Belize are the government of Belize. But we have this tendency to categorize and or stipulate that our caretaker, those who we elect, and the ones who get the majority, then have the privilege to go to the Governor General to be assented the power of governance. Because remember, in previous shows that we did, we clarified for the public that the executive power of Belize rests in the head of state, and those powers may, remember that's a conditional word, right? Those powers may be exercised by the Governor General on behalf of the head of state, and or the Governor General under the Constitution that we currently have in the country is empowered to assent some of those governance powers to his subordinates. Now, for those who are constitutionalists or who have read their Constitution and learned and understand enough about it, will recognize that what I just said there is not strange to us. But to the unlearned and or the unread people who do not understand their Constitution, it will appear that I was saying something strange. That is that the Governor General assent to the people that we elect as our area representative, who then become members of Parliament in the House of Representatives, for example. We call them the parliamentarians, including the senators, because we don't elect our senators, we just appoint them by virtue of how the Constitution is structured. So we have the Parliament, we have the executive, who exercise power granted to them by the Governor General to his subordinates. And why I was getting at that point is that I want to stress keenly that the Prime Minister who goes to the Governor General, including all the other ministers that goes along with him to get ascension of powers, have no power or authority to govern the country until they get that power assented to them. And they are obliged to go and get that power vested on them before they can take up the powers of governance. And as I stipulated earlier, as the Constitution says that the executive power of Belize rests in the head of state, who then delegate those powers. I see one of our guests is in the background. I'm not sure if that's Gregory. He can bring himself in when he's ready. Yes, okay. Thank you very much, Gregory. I had already launched the program, and I was in the middle of describing to the general public and hopefully to some people who have an interest in learning and understanding these matters that the executive power, according to our Constitution, rests in the head of state, and that the head of state then has a Governor General representing the head of state, in whom that power is then vested for transference to subordinate officers, such as the members of cabinet, including the Prime Minister. Most people don't think or don't understand or realize that the Prime Minister and all the other ministers and everybody else in government is subordinate to the Governor General, as in this case, she. As a matter of fact, they have this tendency that they espouse or they they scatter around the place, and a lot of Belizeans believe that it is true that the executive powers of the Governor General is represented by just a figurehead, not understanding that without that figurehead's approval, no members of the government can exercise any governance power. And also, the fact that the head of state still holds the governance power of Belize in hand, and we don't elect our head of state, it means that we have what you call a truncated independence, or, properly speaking, technically, a conditional independence. But I won't get to that yet. That's a point further down the road. I want to stay with the other point, which is to say we've spoken about two of the three sections of government: the executive, the legislative, and now I'll speak to and about the judiciary, which is the third branch of government. Of course, there is also a fourth that most people are unaware of, or some people like to talk about it in terms of just giddiness or not necessarily giving any credence. But the media is a part of our democratic system of governance. I'll leave that there for right now. I'd like to stop a little bit of my explanation and defer to Greg for his introduction. Sir, I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good night.
Good night, sir.
At home and abroad. I thank you for tuning in to this 191st edition of Belizean Affairs. As you rightfully say, Mr. Chairman, the country of Belize, governance system, we are not working with separation of powers, as you see. clearance in all sections, which is executive, judiciary, and judicial. We have a prime minister who is meddling in every section.
Mm-hmm.
We see that happening at the border. We see it happening right now in private entity affairs
Mm-hmm.
to specify the fine group, and there is others that he also is involved with. I believe that past and present government should put more into external and internal affairs. External has to do with the country.
Mm-hmm.
And as I speak about that, and I remember I first going to the ICJ, I have to look at how we were forced into going to the ICJ by our past prime minister who I believe committed treason towards his country. And I'm specifying
Perfectly
this
said.
and simply saying this not only based on my belief, but
The
it's
facts.
also based on
The facts. The facts speak for
the
itself.
United Nations and the OAS, who does not want to stand up for what the ICJ stands for when they make rulings against Western powers who are based on carrying out genocide. To be specific, I would say Israel. As we have long known, most people who don't know, everywhere the American ambassadors go and they offer any aid or support to foreign entities, they want to meddle in their affairs. And even when you think that there is no secret between what is happening with your government and them, that is not the truth. And I'm saying this because we just had an MCC grant, and we heard that we qualified for the grant, and we were the only country in this side of the world that qualified for the grant because of certain reasons. But
Mm-hmm.
I would say this to the people at home and abroad. We qualified because most countries in Latin America don't see eye to eye with the United States. In fact, they
Mm-hmm.
want to get rid of them from meddling in their private affairs. And this is what is happening around the world, in Europe, in Asia. They are present and they come extending gratis, and you wonder what they will get in return. But they are establishing themselves within your community and within your judicial system, and they are actually taking over. With that said, Mr. Chairman, I will go to a chair to
Go right
hear
ahead,
you.
sir.
Eligible to work with MCC, and our board of directors chose to work with Belize on that basis. And so that was really the origin of the decision. We have signed an agreement, and the agreement includes a number of details about the nature of the work that we will be in partnership with the government of Belize on. Part of it is on education, part of it is on energy. And there are mutual expectations of both partners, but they are really surrounding the project that is at hand.
And Albright also outlined what the oversight will look like for this project.
The contours and the details and the parameters of the compact have been determined together, working with the government, and that forms the large majority of what is in the compact documents. So those documents are available. We work, and this is something that's very unique about how MCC works, is we then have a very close working relationship between the agency in Washington, the one or two people who will be here, posted here, and then the entity that will be set up. And that team will then work on implementing the agreement. And there are various guidelines and parameters that all MCC grants need to observe, and how certain aspects of administration, of implementation, of procurement, and so forth are handled.
Now, Mr.
Thank you.
Jackson,
Oh, sorry.
if you say you are getting a grant because you qualify, and based on what I just said, why would you have people from over there coming here to see how it is procured and carried out? That is to say, you will be
Greg,
involved.
Greg,
Yes,
the way to make that sentence correct is to say they're not coming here to see how it's carried out. They're coming here to facilitate it being carried out the way they expect it. Remember, she said that there's expectations on both sides, but the powers in that expectation and that criteria being met, the power resides in the people who are going to come and direct how the process is going to be carried out, not to observe. There are entities that are being set up for that purpose. But quickly, I want to contextualize what you're presenting there in the genesis of what really is going on. People need to know. I don't know how many people in Belize, in our present society and our current demography, remembers the 13 and 17 proposals, Webster proposal, Webster being the American ambassador that was put in charge of the discussion between Belize and Guatemala. I don't know how many people still remember that issue, but you recall, those who have been listening to our program, that I've said a few times before that the 17 Webster proposals and the heads of agreement and all the other subsequent agreements and stipulations that are being put together is all to carry out what was delayed and stalled for a while. But as of today date, it is being carried out, and our governance officials are being guided by the nose. And at the end of the day, success will be had by Guatemala. In fact, they already have success by changing our demography in the country. And just recently, within a few days ago, we have an announcement where they were saying that the migrant group that is being facilitated in our country now have been given clearance and final documentations to legalize them. I don't know if people realize that that is not the beginning of that process. Long before then, we have had literally tens of thousands of people being migrated out of Guatemala and other parts of Central America into Belize with the objective of Latinizing Belize. That's why they say we need a new identity. And they are fostering on us that new identity, which is part of what and why the Guatemalans in our 1869 treaty requested a cart road to facilitate the movements of people from Guatemala into Belize, because the British would be so far away over the seas that by the time they overpopulate Belize, they will have effective control of Belize. Now we are giving them the opportunity to outvote us. They don't outnumber us already. Or Jackass Prime Minister and the rest of them who claim to be diplomats as foreign ministers and all the other positions that they are being given, don't have the qualifications for the position and the office that they are being entrusted with. They go over and they go and have cocktails with these people, and they give them a little bit of truth serum, and they have them like black dog. They serve their interests rather than the interests of Belizeans and Belize. At the highest level, as you intimated earlier, the previous Prime Minister committed treason against free country and he walked away handsomely paid. This current one is doing even worse. Because he looked like, to me, his second house is in Guatemala. Because he's over there more than he's in Belize. Right now, he's out of the country again. And every time I miss him, he's either over at Guatemala or he's abroad dealing with some other secondary powers or issues. Never reports back to the country, and the country continues to be fleeced. I'll see some desist for right now. I had a lot of stuff that I wanted to push out,
Thank
but
you.
I need to stay within the context of what you had presented just now, so I don't stray too far.
Thank you,
But
Mr.
people need to
Chairman.
know. People need to know
But
what's going on.
I brought this up to say Mr. Kerfeet had brought this up in the House before. You remember the Salis loan?
Mm-hmm.
They would be here to see it go through
Mm-hmm.
and look over it to make sure everything works out.
It's more than just
Then
look over it.
here we go with this MCC grant. If you are saying you are giving a grant, why do you have to have people coming to do oversight? Then you are not giving it. To me, you are signing an agreement
That's
where
what they
you
said they
will
did.
come in
That's
and
what the lady said she
facilitate it.
did. Exactly.
That
And
is
that's
what
why I
is
said it the way I
happening.
said it.
So when you say there's no secret agreement, there is an agreement because there is steadiness in it that you are not telling the people.
And those agreements supersede for we laws, substantive laws, and supersede for we constitution. Because in our constitution it says that we are not supposed to be giving any Guatemalans who are claiming our territory and who are harassing our people and mistreating our people with weapons and all kind of stuff, and they try to knock over for we people and the civilians then boat with for their military boat and all kind of craziness like that. And for we prime minister go sit down over there and hobnob with for their leader and they pretend like, okay, well, we gonna love them more than they love us, or we gonna love them more than they love themselves in order for them to be civil towards us. That's crazy. Go ahead,
Let's
Mr.
hear
Leonard.
what the Prime Minister had to say.
Through this agreement, we are embarking on a journey towards sustainable development, poverty reduction, and an inclusive growth for all Belizeans. Over the past 2 years, our teams have engaged in rigorous research and development to determine the initiatives that would have the highest impact for our country and our citizens. We have conducted feasibility studies and engaged extensively with stakeholders from both the public and private sector to ensure that our approach is not only comprehensive but also broad. After in-depth examinations, we determined that education and energy would be the two sectors of focus under this compact. These two areas are critical to the development of our country, encompassing several targets within Plan Belize medium-term development strategy, particularly under strategy objective number 1, poverty reduction, and strategic objective number 2, economic transformation and growth. In the education sector, our focus is clear. We must ensure our youth are fully equipped with the necessary skills to thrive in a rapidly evolving labor market. My government is committed to increasing the number of post-primary graduates that meet the competencies in numeracy, literacy, critical thinking, and subject knowledge that is necessary for success in today's day and age.
Greg.
Now, Mr. Chairman,
Go right ahead, sir.
when I listen to the Prime Minister speak just now, and you hear where he wants to put this grant. Now, how ludicrous is this? You talking about education, and you want to deal in education,
But you underpay the
but
teachers them and you steal their money and you
but
steal their
not even
retirement.
that. You
Ludicrous,
and
man.
our previous government have failed to create any long-term jobs for our graduates, and that is what is the cause of crime happening in the country. A mine is a terrible thing to waste, but students keep graduating with no job and they keep populating the streets. So when you speak about you want to put in the education, so much into education, what is the long-term gain from that? There is absolutely nothing because all you are doing is creating a way out where graduates migrate and none stay in the country. The lack of no job, which is the number one priority. I go to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, sir. But that is by design. That is how they change the demography. Suppress, oppress, and depress the local population, encourage them to seek survival somewhere else, and then encourage the other people that you want to occupy the territory of the country to come in and you facilitate them with stuff that you're not facilitating your own born Belizeans. Now, a lot of Belizeans are sitting down at home there and they could care less. They are quite unconcerned about these issues. As much as it affects them or their kids or grandkids. All they're interested in doing, que viva PUP, que viva UDP. And none of these two mass parties stand up, follows through, and serve the public interest. They're all scattering all over the place to see what they can take from the public coffers or from the public assets. How to import, how to gain the land for themselves. Like, for example, there was a time in Belize when politicians used to offer all Belizeans the opportunity, as is required constitutionally and by the preamble of our constitution, that the material wealth of the country should be divided and people should have access to it in order to help them. But these jackals and hyenas and vultures and mobsters, they don't want to give nobody lands anymore. They want to keep all the lands in the reserve to sell to foreign investors or foreign people who want to come in and pay them a handsome amount of money for it. And as in the case of that piece of land by the Belmopan place there, they want to build a hospital on, they get suborned by these people who come in with briefcase and money in their office, and they gain access and control over we assets depending on how much left out of that briefcase in those offices, how much is spread around. And time again, we have seen these actions going into effect. As in the case now where the government is turning around and buying one piece of land from somebody when they sell for under $600,000, then going to turn around and pay $7 million for it. A spoiled land that is next door to the sewage open air sewage pit. Okay? Who wants to go and live there? Who wants to go and get sick there? But these jackals on check the resources that were supposed to build a hospital at the UB campus for as a teaching institution, and they want to go and build it on a piece of land that they acquired from a friend. When UB had already, the Prime Minister got up in the House and said they had already acquired the land from UB, they have already surveyed it, and he was bigging up UB as being the primary institution that would have benefited from that project. Now the project is being done on government land that UB have no control over. And when the government is ready to get pressured by the IMF to sell that property, because that's what's coming next, they will turn around and sell it, as they do with all government assets. Otherwise, they get no money from IMF. And our small, poor country is constantly in need of IMF bailout or help. We saw what happened with Mr. Esquivel. We saw what happened with Mr. Musa. We saw what happened with Mr. Barrow. We saw what happened now with Mr. Briceño. That's how these people roll. They are there to help you if you can meet their needs and their objectives and facilitate what they want to have happen. And as soon as you pass on a law or make one law to benefit your country or your people, and that law contravenes their interests, then put you back in the deep hole again. And you get no money from there, and you get international pressures from other sources as well. The issue of this particular so-called grant, because a grant is something that you get without any attached conditions to it, other than meet compliance of using the grant for the purpose for which it is awarded. When one country give another country a grant, the first country will give the grant, not go in at the second country and administer that grant, or how it's being used. And in the case of where you have loans, the person making the loan to the other country can't tell the country how to use the loan, when in fact they don't have to pay it back. And only that, the loan from Saudi Arabia, they would have had to pay for the Saudi Arabian people to come to Belize and use a part of that loan to pay for their management and all their expenses as well. So, I yield back, Mr. Brackett.
Mr. Chairman, let's get the other tip from the Prime Minister.
Examinations, we determined that education and energy would be the two sectors of focus under this compact.
The end goal of the grant will be to increase the number of post-primary graduates and to decrease the cost of electricity in Belize. MCC CEO Alice Albright explained their plans to achieve this.
By investing $74 million of the compact in the education part of it, we call the education project, we open up so many opportunities to bring relevant labor market skills to post-primary graduates. So how are we going to do it? We're going to fundamentally reshape working together, teaching and learning in secondary education. We're going to improve access, and we're going to enhance the quality and the relevance of technical and vocational training so that the youth of Belize will be prepared, I should say, for the rest of the 21st century. The energy project will total $21 million and will support expansion plans for utility-scale renewable energy while maintaining the stability of the grid. This will accommodate the supply of power without compromising the reliability and power quality. A particularly exciting part of this project is its use of what we call blended finance, which is bringing together different types of financing to catalyze what we hope will be another $50 million of private sector investments in the energy sector. We are confident that when all is said and done, this project will result in another 50 megawatts of new power purchase agreements for low-cost renewable generation.
And while this plan sounds good on paper, it has some members of the public skeptical. The main question being asked is what will the U.S. get in return, After all, 250 million Belize dollars is no small amount. The PM assured Belizeans that there is no under-the-table deal.
There's no hidden agenda with this agreement. It's open, it's transparent, and we have not signed any secret agreement with the United States government for being able to get this compact. It's just, we have met we qualified for it. And we're very proud to, as what Ms. Albright said earlier, that we're the only one in the region that has qualified, and it speaks volumes to our government and to our country.
We have an eligibility framework at MCC that guides us in the decisions.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm laughing.
we are the only one that qualified because
Didn't the man say we
the
don't got no
other
talent? How we are qualified
countries,
for something like that? Above
the
all the other
other
people who got
countries
talent.
in Latin America is turning their backs on the United States for meddling in their business. This is what they are doing now. And I can prove that. But as I was saying before, there is no secret agreement, is what the Prime Minister said.
Why
But
did they have to say
that's
that? Why
all.
did they have to, Greg? Why did they have to coach that in there?
That is all this government has been doing. That is all they have been doing. That is being in denial. And we know that. We know that for a fact. But don't take it from me why we are the only one qualified. Let's listen to this.
It's another day, and another U.S. ambassador has managed to outrage their host nation. Yesterday, we told you about Mexico, how the Mexican government has paused ties with the U.S. embassy. Today, it's Honduras. Honduras is a nation in Central America. It is home to about 10 million people, and their government is furious with the U.S., so much so that they're scrapping a treaty, a more than 100-year-old treaty.
President Xiomara Castro has instructed us in a timely manner to proceed to terminate the extradition treaty between Honduras and the United States that was concluded in January 1912.
Honduras has announced that it will end an extradition treaty with the U.S. The treaty was signed in 1912. It has lasted for 112 years, but now Honduras wants out, thanks to a diplomatic faux pas by the U.S. ambassador there. Her name is Laura Dogu. She recently commented on a meeting between the Honduran defense minister and his Venezuelan counterpart, the defense ministers of Honduras and Venezuela. Now, some of you may know that the U.S. does not like Venezuela, and that is putting it mildly. Washington loathes Nicolas Maduro, the recently re-elected Venezuelan president. Honduras, however, shares good ties with Maduro and has no objection to meeting members of his government. So the U.S. ambassador's actions were met with outrage. Ambassador Dogu said that she was surprised that Honduran officials met with drug traffickers. Now, some context here. The U.S. indicted Venezuela's defense minister on drug trafficking charges in 2020. As far as Washington is concerned, Venezuela helps drugs flow into the U.S. But for the ambassador to say what she said, Honduras took it as an insult.
We have cooperated with the United States in all aspects of the fight against drug trafficking. But we consider these illusions that these government officials, who work in defense and hand with U.S. authorities, can imply that they are involved in drug trafficking, and this is unacceptable.
This insult has led to them cancelling a century-old treaty. It was perhaps the last straw. Look at the Honduran president's statement. In fact, let me read out the translation. The interference and interventionism of the United States, as well as its intention to direct the politics of Honduras through its embassy and other representatives, is intolerable. They attack, ignore, and violate with impunity the principles and practices of international law, which promote respect for the sovereignty and self-determination of peoples, non-intervention, and universal peace. Enough. So Honduras is not ending the treaty because of the comment, but because the U.S. keeps meddling in their internal affairs via the ambassador. It was the same
Now you heard, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So when we are the only one who qualify, of course we qualify because the Haitian and the Jamaicans are not going through the border trying to get to the United States. Belize is protecting them. It's
People not
plain
paying
to see
attention
what
to
is
that.
happening.
People are oblivious about those things that you're talking about, though, sir. Unfortunately. Go right ahead.
Well,
I yield.
it's right there in front of them. So that is the ties that they have. And it's not only in Latin America, they do it all over the world.
Case in Mexico, the U.S. ambassador decided to comment on Mexico's judicial reform. This outraged the country's president. So Mexico has paused ties with the U.S. embassy. And this is not some new phenomenon, really. American ambassadors have a history of riling up their host nations. Look at these reports from down the years. Venezuela, 2006. Syria, 2011. Ecuador, also 2011, Albania, 2021. Every single time, the US ambassador has been accused of working against the country's government, of interfering in domestic issues, sometimes supporting rebels outright, and all of it is absurd. And India is no stranger to this American outreach either. Recently, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The two shared a hug and they discussed peace in Ukraine. But the US ambassador in India decided to react to this. And he reacted with a threat. He told New Delhi to not take the US-India relationship for granted. This is how American ambassadors treat allies like India. It's an unparalleled level of entitlement, making public comments about sensitive issues.
There you go again, Mr. Chairman. So you see, there is no secret agreement, one would say. But what are they getting back? They are getting back more than enough for what they are doing in our country. I pass it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, sir, for your commentary and your elucidation and your tape that you played to back up your perspective and your stipulations as well. I would like to ask again, for the second time tonight, the same question, as if people maybe never heard it the first time. And if they did heard it the first time, well then they can forgive me for, like the Spanish people would say, being necio, being hard-headed, being constantly driven to point out what should be the obvious, but apparently is not obvious. The implementation of the 17 proposals and the heads of agreement are upon us. We are witnessing it on an ongoing basis. And it doesn't smell good for Belize. Because we have people committing treason against us at the highest level of our government. And they treat us like they are doing us a favor when they do that. I was about to say something, but I think I need to withhold. Sometimes, it's not always good to say everything that comes to your mind. Just because you think it doesn't mean that the public must be
But Mr. Chairman, the
subjected to
predicament
all your
that we
thoughts
are in,
by verbalizing it. So I'll just yield back.
Mr. Chairman, the predicament that we are in, the ICJ that we are going through, the United States is trying to tear it apart. It seems to me it was set up only against Western countries that are against the Western powers. Because you have never heard a country within NATO being tried and convicted in the ICJ. They're trying to do it
Well,
with Israel, and look what happened.
just a minute.
They
Greg,
threatened, yes.
the guy from Yugoslavia, he was. So I wouldn't say it's 100%, but the point is well taken. That is that very seldom does it happen that they bring to account any Western entity or powers or individuals who are guilty of same kind of crimes for which they prosecute and convict others. Your point is well taken and very solid, sir. I yield back. I yield back.
And I say this to say, we have heard that under international law, countries have stepped up to the plate to make sure there's no more genocide. And we see what is happening in the United Nations, which should be to bring peace and stability in the world. The fourth country is vetoing every measure that they put in place or against Israel.
And they said,
now imagine,
never again, right? The cry or the rallying cry was never again should the world have to experience that type of nefariousness or evil. But if we look at history, we will see human beings have never learned anything from their predecessors, from their history, and even from themselves. Because you look at all the great kingdoms of the past, where are they now? In the dust heap of history. And so will be many others to come. Thank you very much, sir. I yield back, Greg.
yes, Mr.
You want to
Chairman,
change the
thank
subject or
you.
you have something different that you want to...
And again, yes, I would like to go to the state because we keep going down this road and we have been having conference building measures. Belize have exceeded territory, waterway. We keep going down this road. It keeps happening, and our government, past and present, does not seem to have the remedy how to solve it.
The interest.
EJ were discussed. Today, when we asked the foreign minister about it, he said that Belize has already gone through the diplomatic channels to report the incident. While some members of the public may disagree with this method, Fonseca said it's better not to act on emotions.
These are ongoing issues, as you all know. And we, as I said, when these incidents occur, there are two things that happen. One, the government of Belize, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, registers a very strong diplomatic protest note, which is sent to the government of Guatemala, condemning the actions of the Guatemalan armed forces, as well as, of course, reaffirming Belize's sovereignty and territorial integrity. We as well, of course, report the incident to the Organization of American States. This is a part of an agreement that we have between Belize, Guatemala, and the OAS, that we report these types of incidents. The OAS then acts as a mediator. They carry out a verification exercise to determine exactly what happened, where it happened, and then they issue a report that is sent to both countries. So both of those things have been done. And again, we absolutely, of course, state very, very clearly that we, our sovereignty and territorial integrity over a part of the Sarstoon River, that is absolutely clear. The median line of the Sarstoon River is long established as a point between Belize and Guatemala. So anything north of that median line is Belizean waters. That's our very clear and position. We've had very good discussions with the Guatemalan government on these issues. We are in a position of authority, and with authority comes responsibility for our citizens, responsibility for our soldiers. So we can't be emotional or erratic about these incidents. That's why we've worked very hard over many, many years, successive governments, to put in place a very formal structure for responding to these incidents, for dealing with these incidents, which I've just outlined for you. So our responsibility and duty is to make sure that we do those things, and that's what we've done.
Mr. Chairman,
Go
how
ahead, sir.
ludicrous it is that every time these people speak, they speak about the people of Belize and for the people of Belize, but nothing has ever been trickling down to the people of Belize.
There are apologies for a mortal enemy.
As
This
much as they speak, everything they are doing is for the people of Belize. What has the people of Belize ever accomplished from past and present government? I go back to you, sir.
Thank you very much. As I said earlier in the program, I think maybe I might have said just before you came on, why is it that we give these people the powers of governance and authority as head of particular ministries for which they are totally unqualified and or have no interest in pursuing their ability to become qualified? They all talk a good talk, but they're quaking in their boots. They are afraid of the big bad wolf. They suffer and allow for we people to suffer unnecessary indignity, all because, like he said, the foreign minister just now, when they are in charge, they have to look out for the well-being of the soldiers. What is the purpose of a soldier? Protect and preserve the territorial integrity of their country. I'm not advocating that those soldiers who have their family at home should be mistreated by our government in not providing them what they need in order to fulfill the obligation that they swore to fulfill. Instead of the government, they go and give the Chinese man all the money and give Mr. Ashcroft all the money and have to go pay Mr. Feinstein and have to, instead of they misuse and mismanage free resources, why don't the hell give the money to the different departments that deserve it? For example, the military deserves an upgrade. They deserve better pay. They deserve correct food. Instead of junk one and they try again. The teachers, they need to get their salary adjusted back and paid off that money that was taken away from them. Then they get hundreds of millions of dollars now and say for education, to improve education. How the hell you improve education if you as the government is stiffing your teachers them and not giving them their salary that they're entitled to, taking away their benefits, taking away 10% of their salary, you're marginalizing them more, and you expect them to be able to put out more to improve the educational quality of the students. I yield back, Greg. I'm getting a little emotional. These idiots, they just
But,
drive me crazy, man.
but Mr. Chairman, let me say this,
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
because there's this saying that Belizean people don't have no talent, but it's not all of us can see through the eye or hear. Within the grant from the MCC, here we go again for the people of Belize. How much time will our Prime Minister go to get money for renewable energy? We went to the study, now we are getting some more money under this grant that will give 50 megawatts more on the grid. Somebody needs to explain this to me or to the people. When on more than one occasion,
And light still they get cut out, right? After
right,
all those times of collecting so much money from all different kind of places, how much of that money gets spent to build or improve with infrastructures? When in
But
fact,
then
what the lady what the lady was talking about just now was a public-private endeavor, which means that the private people want to take control of we government public assets and do what they want with it and charge you when they want. And if we don't yield, we are getting in trouble. We have a problem. We will be sabotaged. We won't have success. We won't attain the goals that they're setting out. Why? Because the private people know where they come to invest for their money along with the public money because they want to make the money. They want to provide the service. But they want to do it with their own control, subordinating for we governance power. We have to make rules and regulations and laws to favor their investment. And when they're ready, they could jack up their price and treat you any kind of which way, like ASR, BSI, and all the others. That's what it's
you
all about
just
at the end of the
hit
day.
it right on the head. It's the same move like ASRBSI that is about to happen. And no one is looking at it. That is why I brought it up.
And the Prime Minister will not
Because
get
they
involved
say
again. Okay?
there is
Yeah.
no secret agreement. But when you have people coming in to monitor and do all this, how can it be for the best interest of the country? Because what you keep doing is catering to foreign investors. This is a privatized foreign investor that will take place. You know, I don't know how the Belizean people can
Greg,
feel.
Greg,
Yes,
could you go ahead and comment and run the show for a minute or so? I need to move. Okay?
yes.
Maybe you could
I
run a
don't
tape or something
know
in the meantime.
how
Thank you.
we, the people of Belize, can continue to go down this lane, not realizing what is happening whenever they speak about a grant or a loan and they're talking about foreign investors that is coming in. We end up with privatization, and when government change, we end up with deficit beyond our control. If we look at the present deficit as we see, it should be way above $1.7 billion. And here we go again. We are getting right back to having another major deficit. That is why here in Belizean affairs, I keep saying that it never seems to change. Government changes, but we have the same issue and the same problem happening over and over again. And every time we have government do these kind of secret agreements that they are in denial from and they don't want to speak about, or when you hear them talking about taking away private property for public interest, but yet it will not be paid in the taxpayers' money to make it public. It is for private entity. We will end up down the road with continuous lawsuits like the takeover of BTL that cost us millions of dollars from the taking over of BTL. We keep going down this road. We keep hearing the Prime Minister say he will not get involved with no private business. But then he's creating private business. He's the one creating them and backing them, you know? So
Uh,
I don't know when will the Belizean people really get up and see it. Because I'm going to say this right now. We hear them speak about a new identity. And we were speaking about external and internal policy. But the same reason why we are having this incursion in the Sarsoon River is because of the denial of past and present government who wants to give us a new identity because I will say this to the people at home and abroad. The present government is trying to lead us down the road to become a republic with a new identity.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone, anyone can recall we have never had these in person with the Guatemalans when the British forces was in Belize. We had never have it, but it's because of the stupidity and the ludicrous move of our government why we are having this. Because I've heard it and talked radio shows that, oh, the British took their garrison, they're not going to protect us. These stupid stuff, failing to realize and telling the people that Belize has a bipartial independence, that Belize bipartial independence is under the Commonwealth, who is there to protect us, and that no country can give another country its independence unless they have an army and a flotilla to protect themselves, like in the case of Taiwan. So, Belizeans kindly wake up and look at what is happening. Because I can say this again. If the British was here, the Guatemalans would never be doing what they're doing. And we must realize that the United States have interest in Guatemala, and let's not forget the Webster proposal or 17th proposal are the same conference building measure that we hear our government speaking about. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, sir. Uh, this idea that Belize needs to dispossess itself of all British vestiges or British defense or British help to keep us in good stead and out of the hands of the Guatemalan, and to hate the British because they were colonizers. So was France, by the way, and so was Spain, by the way. But you hear them talk and say that they castigate the British because they want us fall in line to get mad at the British because they were supposed to have been the slave masters. Does anybody realize that there was slavery going on in Latin America long before the black slavery started happening? Does anybody remember the name Bartholomew or Fray Bartolome de las Casas? Anybody know that history? Which is why, as a result of that declaration made by him, that they stop using the indigenous people as slaves in Latin America and start bringing in the black people in from Africa to replace and to use as the new slaves back then. People need to learn and study history so that they can contextualize these things and understand what's going on. This idea about getting rid of the British or getting the British out of America or Latin America was all a matter of being able to hoodwink people to fall into the trap that you become a defenseless pauper. And now that we're a defenseless pauper, we are being used, misused, and abused by our real enemy. Our enemy was not the British who kept us in good stead for 100 and almost 200 years. Our enemy is the one we have on the Sarstoon and on the western border, who is outpopulating us, sending in droves and droves of their population to live among us and to give us a new identity, to outnumber us, outpopulate us, Why? Because we Negritos not supposed to have no independent Belize as a country. Not in Latin America. The Negritos have to go back to Africa where they come from. But they not tell that to the white people where colonized them and enslaved them, such as the French, such as the Spanish, such as the Portuguese, such as the English, and all the others. No. People can get the idea and understand this concept that it's all a farce. It's all about tricking us into leaving ourselves defenseless and free for our mortal enemy to have its way with us, as they're having on the Sarstoon. You think if they never have their guns in their hand, machine guns at that them and the dare if you go bump anybody else's boat, when they for them boat could get bumped to and knock over just as well? Or somebody come and pull out and go and shoot up someone and boat as well? But what that is going to cause? A bigger problem that we will not survive. Because they are trying to instigate us into starting a war and then blame us for that war while they get the prize for the war. That is, to take more of our lands. And since they have so much of their people inside of us, our territory, they could just as well act like Trojan horses. As a matter of fact, they could take over the country without having to fire a bullet. Just going at the ballot. Because a lot of the kids are being born now in Belize. And they have a right, like any other Belizeans, to vote. So within the next generation, we're going to get outvoted. Nevertheless, I yield back for your last comment, Greg, and we might be able to close off the show on time tonight, or maybe a little earlier than normal. Huh?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, sir.
I would like to say to the Belizean people at home and abroad to kindly wake up from the sleep that you are sleeping and read, listen to social media, listen to these house meetings, and look at these agreements that our governments are making. Agreements like the one that was made, which is a secret agreement with the commerce site deal that nobody knew about until some of us started the breaking of the land. They out there shoveling up the land.
And they make these deals, Greg, they make these deals in our name to favor them and their cronies. And when they are moved on and gone, we are left with the carcasses and the expenses.
That is correct. So we need to
Que
pay
viva POP! Que viva
keen interest in
UDP!
what is happening. Because there's a lot of these body deals that are happening that most people abroad know as white collar crime
Yep.
or using your office
Self-enrichment.
for self-enrichment. Mr. Chairman, I will turn it back to you for the closing. I know you have a lot in front of you, and I hope to see you pretty soon. And, safe
Thank,
travel.
thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. God bless. Um, I won't be too long in tonight's closing because I'm kind of getting a little fed up. You know, I'm beating the same lame horse, right? And I can't be that cruel to the same lame horse that I'm beating up or beating on, while at the same time asking our government to have some compassion on the people, because that's why they were elected in the first place. But I'll just proceed in asking the government again, starting from the head of the government, the Governor General, to whom, if she chooses, can ask the Prime Minister for an account of just about anything else that is done under the governance of Belize that she has an interest in, and he would have to oblige Why? He is her subordinate, not the other way around, because they recommended her for the position that they would consider her to be their subordinate. That's not what the Constitution says or the law says. But these jackals, hyenas, and vultures are used to the idea that they have and pull for we system at their own heart content. They do to us all manner of evil. And we still the clap and they holler about Keviva this, Keviva that, and Keviva the other. While we the dead out. While we the punish. While we children and grandchildren and great grandchildren them or whoever, or we grandmother, auntie, cousin, uncle, or whoever, they suffer and they go through all kind of changes. Belizeans, as my cousin said earlier, wake up. And that's the end of my commentary for tonight. We're finishing the show a few minutes earlier as compared to some other nights when we finish a few minutes late. So it balances
Thank
out
you,
at the end of the day.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you too, sir,
I
for joining
think
me in tonight's program.
I think that we have come a long way. We are presented uh, enough show and tell here and Belizean affairs. We have provided enough updated information, right and track to whatever is happening in our country. We have speak about the outcome of cases that the government would lose before it came to the end, and it happened. And we have went on to try to educate the Belizean people and the Constitution. And I will say that I'm highly appreciative of you and Mr. Wade sitting with me virtually as we continue to enlighten the Belizean people at home and abroad on what is happening in the country, and not only that, to let them open their eyes and look and see, because any long-living individual like us who knows about politics knows about when certain parties come around, we end up with privatization and debt
Always.
that we cannot
Always.
pay back, and we are looking down that road as we speak, being over 1.7, nearly 1.8 billion dollars to be exact. So I just want to
And Greg,
remind you
on one
at
of our
home and
previous
abroad
shows,
to be vigilant
on one of
and
our
keep
on one
focused.
sorry,
Back
on
to
one
you,
of our
Mr.
previous show,
Chairman.
yes, sir. On one of our previous show, we did touch that specific topic that you brought up just now, and we had said it was going to be $1.7 billion. Okay, and we're not at the end of the year yet. Imagine what it's really going to turn out to be. Probably 2 billion. Where is the resource going? All the money that came through the budget and all the supplementals and all the extra loans and all the extra grants and all the all these things. The man never even try get money as we have asked him before to put in on the pantry program. Then he come to talk craziness about poverty alleviation. Make I shut up before I disrespect myself.
As I said before, Mr. Chairman, you always care for the Belizean people, but nothing has been trickled down on the Belizean people. We are in the hurricane season right now. The last one we had, Lisa, and so much donation was granted from foreign entities, and we are in a season, and still some of those people who suffered from
Still haven't been
Lisa
helped. They haven't been
still
helped yet.
has not received any kind of assistance.
And there's a lot of people right now that are in the flood areas. This lot of rain that's going to be coming down right now. A lot of areas. It's not a hurricane. It's not a big storm, but it's a giant rain making system. It covers Guatemala, Belize, parts of Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. That's how big this system is. And it's going to take days to flow and pass through Belize. You have any idea how much water going left behind for all the amount of raining? And when all a lot of water coming down out of the valleys and into the rivers, them, how much riverside and riverbank and houses will get taken away or cattle will get washed away like as usual? People are suffering and these guys are not providing. We'll deal with that on Monday. Let's leave it at that. We said it was
Right.
the
Anyway, Mr. Chairman,
Thank you very much. A nice program again,
I
Greg.
would like to thank the Belizean people at home and abroad who are tuning to this 191st edition of Belizean Affairs. And hopefully you will tune in on Monday. I know we are in the 10th celebration, and I want to remind our people that even though some are trying to get rid of this special day from our history, let's recognize that it is here to stay. Let's not forget
That's
it.
the basis on which we are still hanging around. If it wasn't because of that, we wouldn't be around now. But a request to you, Greg. Could you put back the flag for us for the holiday season? I mean, not holiday, but I mean for the
Yes, I sure will,
tents
Mr. Chairman.
as the background. No,
But with
I
that
like the
said,
changes that you make regularly, you refresh it regularly, and it look nice. But in the
right.
celebratory mood, maybe the flag could stay up a little longer if you don't mind.
With that said, Mr. Chairman, I would like to say good night again to the people at home and abroad. I wish you a safe trip, sir, and I will see you in the coming days. It will be a pleasure, and you are highly appreciated. With that said, good night.